Geek Dad Life presents Screen Geeks, a live TV and film talk show. Tonight, Ralph and I are going to talk about the return of Michael Keaton to the movie screens in a little film called The Flash. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Hello,
so many nuts in the comment section. I see like 5 nuts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Screen Geeks. My name is Jay, and with me, as always, on this journey of screen geekery is my good friend Ralph. Ralph, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. That's it. Great. So on my Twitter, I posted like, "Hey everybody, come watch Screen Geeks tonight. Here's the link." But I wasn't just like, "Hey, come check it out." I was like very aggressive in my post.
Yes.
About spoilers, but I really like this movie.
Same.
Like a lot.
Like I liked this movie.
Like I was in. Stevie was in, and the rest of my family were in. And the rest of my family are pretty opinionated.
Yeah.
But they were in. And I feel like I feel like I'm in the minority, or just a vocal minority. Like, well, I don't know.
It's fascinating to me. It really is fascinating. Let's say hello to the chat before we dig into this, because you have a really good point. Really good points to make here. Toy Geek Sources here, Dora Laxian, Matt Bush, Nick Dillinger, Nelson A, Geek the F Out, who did their own live stream on this just yesterday, I believe, with friend of the channel, Vactor.
Cool.
Vactors.
Yeah. Get Vactor. And he's cool.
And actually, we have a hard out at 10 tonight, or at least Eastern, because also Ryan Dole on Gotham City Tonight is doing his stream on this very movie at 10 o'clock, 7 West Pacific. So we'll end our discussion, and you can head right on over there to Gotham City Tonight.
No one asked me.
Should we just go crash Gotham City Tonight after this if we still have more stuff to say?
You have a link, right? Do you have a link?
I could ask him. I could send him. I could ask him. We could. We've got let's see, 80s experiences here. Colleen is here. So anyways, all right, Ralph. This is
only counted 3 nuts.
There are a lot of nuts going down. But I do want to put up our old-fashioned spoiler alert. We are talking about the movie The Flash. I was very fortunate to not be spoiled on anything beyond what was seen in the trailer. So all the cool reveals I didn't know until I saw it on that screen, and it was really cool. So if you even remotely want to go in blind and don't want to know, don't watch this right now. But if you have seen it and you want to talk about it, come and watch. Or if you really don't give a crap about spoilers, or you've already been spoiled, come hang out. Okay.
Right.
Now,
I didn't know that you would like it. Honestly,
you didn't think I would like it?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's hard to gauge, because as far as what I've seen online, like, listen, I post all kinds of opinions on the internet.
Love you, Riley Bob.
But I posted my letterbox. I rarely post my letterbox on my Instagram stories, but I did.
Okay.
Flash. And how did that go? I was very aggressive towards anybody. I let them know it was a 5-star review. I just thought, I was like, screw it, I love it. And I said, you can't change my mind.
Yeah.
And you're not in a place to try to change my mind. I was very aggressive. I'm a big DC fan, and I love I'm not going to say love all of DC, but like, I get a lot of joy going and seeing DC characters on the big screen.
Yes.
The movies could be awful, but I'd still get a kick out of just seeing them on the big screen. And so like, I got like, dude, like 6 or 7 people like immediately DM'd me. We need to talk. I'm like, no.
What, like that they wanted to like counter your opinion? Or
I don't know. I don't know. I thought I squashed it, but it was definitely something where it was like, I was like, I've seen everybody talking about this, and I feel like I'm in a minority, and I was like, I don't want to argue it. I'm super glad you liked it though, because I was really afraid I was gonna have to come in here and be like, mentally I've been just pulling up like different sort of things to like.
No, I loved it throughout. Honestly, I the only part of it that was kind of like, whatever, was the post-credit scene, which was kind of a throwaway. But
yeah, I was confused by it.
It was a weird post-credit scene, but I absolutely loved it throughout. I think let's see, Matt Bush says, too bad Batfleck didn't tell Barry about Kryptonite, could have helped Zod. Maybe it was in credit to the in that era. But where is it? Somebody said, oh, here we go. Doralaxian. I enjoyed the absolute hell of it. It's a real shame that Ezra Miller is batshit crazy because they're a really good actor. And that there is that element to it, but you kind of just lose it in the role. I thought their performance was really good throughout, and the emotional punch at the end, that last scene between him and his mother. I don't think there's a dry eye in the theater. I think our whole row was crying. Like it was so touching. It was incredible.
Yeah.
But I loved it throughout. I thought all the Snyderverse stuff was fun. Batflick was fun. What do we got? People saying they hate it.
I was waiting for it. It was gonna be. I was actually gonna put up on the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
If you mention the trigger word, you will get a prize from me. And Geek the F Out wins. The CGI was rough.
But isn't that kind of because it was only in the Speedverse that it looked like that?
Well,
right?
I mean, for me, the speed stuff seemed in the bowl felt very stylized.
Yes,
because even like Cavill, who I'm sure they have like tons of CG stuff in their servers, had a weird look. Even Barry.
Yeah.
In the thing.
They all looked weird.
It was very stylized. Yes. Everything looked weird.
I believe I saw the director that said that was intentional.
It looks like a style choice.
Yes.
I have a hunch.
I
have a hunch. Maybe it was like in black and white and had like a paper, like a I don't know. It doesn't matter. It
didn't bother me so much because it had that continuity whenever he was in speed mode, right? Like the baby, like whenever he was in, it was the slow-mo speed mode. It just had a style to it that didn't look like it was of the real world or whatever.
The babies were rough. But here's a couple of things about the babies. First of all, when they were setting up that these babies were possibly going to fly out of this skyscraper, I started laughing. I'm like, this is nuts.
And then the dog
pan across all the row of babies,
yes,
and then see the window go like that. I'm like, first off, you know all the babies are going to be fine.
Yes.
They're not going to kill babies in the movie.
No.
And so you're like, you laugh. You're not just going to see a bunch of babies hit concrete.
Yes.
So you're like, okay, so it's funny. You know the Flash is going to save the day. But also two things. The first thing is, I don't know, as far as Ezra Miller started doing their bad stuff.
It's been a run. It's been a run of problems.
It's been a while.
Yes.
So I don't know if they're just like, hey, listen, we got to release this movie, but don't put any more money into it. Like we're just as is. I don't know. I have no idea. But also, I can't imagine the studios looking at that scene and seeing like very realistic babies and being cool with it.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those like you don't want to ever feel like real babies are in danger, so you make it a little cartoony. So to me, it's a style choice, to be honest.
Right. Well, for me, like if you watch any movie where the baby is in peril, like let's say Fast 8. In Fast 8, Jason Statham and Luke Evans are trying to rescue Dom's baby from an airplane, and it's a gunfight, and the baby's getting slid all over the place. You put in a shot of the baby giggle, and then everything's okay. It puts everyone at ease. When you have a dozen babies falling out of a skyscraper to start your movie, you got to be like, okay, can't take this serious. My thing was the one baby that got put in the microwave. After it landed, it dinged, which means the microwave was on, right?
Also, microwaves don't ding anymore,
but I don't know. It definitely dinged, and the baby was still inside.
Dartherian says, sorry, but Ezra, while did a good job acting between the two Barrys, Dingbat Barry drove me nuts, and I didn't care to go that nuts. But to me, what I loved about that version of Barry was, and it's almost, and maybe it resonated with me as a parent of, young kids, and there's this element of, you want to give your kids a better life than you had, but then the thing happens where your kids just don't understand that they have a better life than you had, because this is just their life and they just don't know any better. And that resentment that he has for the other version of Barry that still had his mom, like he's mad at that Barry, but that Barry doesn't know any better. That's just his life. He's just a normal kid, just a normal pain in the ass 18-year-old.
One of my favorite things was the fact that I know a lot of people after Justice League came out were kind of annoyed by Ezra Miller's portrayal of Barry. They thought he was annoying. They thought Barry was annoying. And in this movie, it's sort of addressed. He's like, did you ever shut up? And he's like, oh. And he realizes essentially it's a much worse version of him.
Yes.
Like it's definitely like his mother's death definitely gave him made him a better person. Put his life into perspective.
Well, that, and just I think that's what I love, the exploration between Keaton Bats and Ezra Miller's Barry, or the motherless Barry. That trauma is kind of what formed them, for better or worse, and how they're trying to cope with it. But to me, what was funny is, so we went, my dad was in town, so we went with him, Colleen, and the two boys. Alex really wanted to see this movie. Zach didn't. He could care less. But the boys, they loved annoying Barry. They laughed and laughed and laughed. Like every bit of his hijinks, they thought was the funniest thing they've ever seen on a screen. Like they just loved the hell out of it. So there's an element of, I don't know, the kids thought it was funny. I was laughing. I had a good time.
Yeah. The baby thing's funny too, because it's, again, it shows like Barry is trying to save one life at the risk of how many lives not being the Flash. And it's that whole thing. Would you go back in time and kill baby Hitler? And then it's kind of like, if you go and save your mom, then here's 20 dead babies on a sidewalk. It sucks. So it's the perfect opener to be like, this is what he's doing. And for him, saving all those kids and kind of trying to help the building not fall over. He calls it janitor. He's like, oh, I'm like the janitor. I just come clean up their messes. But at the same time, what I like is he's really good at it. We come into this movie where Barry is like, he's got all his powers. He knows how to phase through walls. He knows how to do tornadoes. He knows how to do all the stuff. And what's great is we also get the origin. So for the first time on the big screen, we get to see the lightning coming in and hitting the chemicals. And so we get to see, it's crazy because we get to see his origins. We get to see what he's like as a fully formed hero. But we get to see himself be the mentor to he's Obi-Wan and Luke Skywalker rolled into one. And I like that about the movies. It is an origin story, but like you're doing this after like what is this like his fourth appearance as the as the Flash is something like that.
They've let's see. I mean, it's at least 4 or 5 for them.
Yeah,
because they also had
Batman
the cameo in Peacemaker too.
Right. Barry was in Peacemaker. Barry was in
and also in
the
Flash TV show. Yeah.
So
anyway.
and I mean, they're just so damn charming. The whole movie, I'm thinking, like, this is such like, I want art to imitate life. I want Ezra Miller to be able to fix all this stuff somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can.
And
I don't know the full details. I never really read the articles. I know there's like kidnappings and
crazy stuff,
drugs
stuff.
and and yelling at cops and stuff, which whatever. But it's like and I mean the movie didn't do super great, so I don't know if it's an option for them to come back. But I was so just charmed. And the end scene in the store was just
it was devastating.
It's tough.
So something that I found, I love Colleen to share her thoughts about this, but Colleen's a Flash fan. She loved the CW show. And I found and she didn't really want to see this movie. She was like, I'll go with you, but
Stevie didn't want to see it. She was kind of like lukewarm on it.
Yeah. And I think she walked out of it saying that she really liked it. I know the closing scene really moved her. And I think if I remember correctly, she even said this did a better job explaining all of the messing with the time that Barry can do better than the TV show did. It was like really concise.
Right.
Didn't take a lot of exposition to make it work.
I thought it was laid out real nice too.
Yeah.
Like it was
clean.
They essentially, what I think is great about this movie is anyone could be recast.
Yeah.
Or not recast. Anybody can be, like, even if they recast Batman, Gal Gadot could still be Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, listen, we're just gonna accept that like all of DC is part of one multiverse and things can just sort of blend together.
Yeah.
So if you're a Zack Snyder fan, like those guys can still stick around. I mean, obviously Aquaman's coming next.
Yeah.
But it also is like you can have Jason Momoa as Lobo. He looks like that guy, but the multiverse is so messed up where there are different Supermans out there, and we'll get to that, I'm sure. There are different Bruce Waynes. We see several Bruce Waynes in this.
Yes.
We don't see all the Bruce Waynes, but we see a few. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, I'm happy this did this. Because now DC can be whatever they want. Robert Pattinson can be Batman.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal. If we move forward in like a Batman Beyond, I know we all wanted Michael Keaton to be in Batman Beyond. Go get Tim Burton. I'd love to see a Batman Beyond. But if he can't do it, get George Clooney. Get somebody else. And that's what's great is like, we can now just accept DC as it doesn't have to be this continuity that if you miss something, you're going to be out of the loop for the remainder of DC. You can pick and choose what you like. I love Shazam. And in the Shazam 2, they showed him meeting up with Harcourt from Peacemaker. It's like, I would love to see Zachary Levi float around, team up Zachary Levi with Michael Keaton. How fun would that be?
Listen, Michael Keaton has to clean up a lot in the DC world. I don't have to have him clean up Zachary Levi as well.
What does Zachary Levi do?
Oh, not as bad as Ezra, but still kind of turned out to be a turd.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming just everyone's a turd.
That's true. Everyone's awful.
Yeah.
There it is. But let's talk about the Keaton of it all. Can we just talk about the return of Keaton as Batman and Bruce Wayne? And for anybody of I'm a millennial, older millennial, you're a Gen Xer, but the arrival of 89 Batman kind of is this pivotal moment in pop culture history and geek history. It was for me.
You were 5? You were 5 or 6?
5. Yes.
Yeah.
And
12.
And it shifted, I don't know, my brain forever in terms of how superhero movies could be.
That was
how
a
they could
huge summer.
That was an insane summer. Indiana Jones, Ghostbusters 2, Batman, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
The Abyss.
So it's just one of those moments in time. But anyway, like just to me, that moment, I just still vividly remember so much of it, all of the mania, the Bat mania. But still, I think what stands the test of time versus the Joel Schumacher versions is Keaton just has this approach to Batman and Bruce Wayne where it's this softness, this like stoicism, but also like could freaking snap and go psycho at any second. Like it just, his performance still to me resonates. And what I loved about his performance in this one is it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel inauthentic to the character in the previous 2 movies. Like he immediately just was right back in it and had the same level of gravitas that he had in the first 2 Batman films. In this one, and even with the lines, "Yeah, I'm Batman," or "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." Even with those, I was worried it would feel all ham-handed or, "Oh, hey, here's the thing. Oh, remember Batman? I remember Batman." But at no point did it feel like that for me because I felt like he really lived the role. It was a great reintroduction or getting to don the cape and cowl again, and it didn't feel hollow or anything. Like he actually got to be badass. Like he got to have action scenes. I'm sure there's CGI helping that, but like every bit of his fight scenes, every line, even him as Bruce Wayne, his moments with Barry, like he got what I love about and why I get why they chose him to be this mentor to Barry in this one, because the difference between Keaton bats in Barry and Affleck bats in Barry is the Affleck bats in Barry is more like older brother, little brother versus Keaton bats in Barry is like father, son kind of thing. Right. And that's what he's missing. He's missed his father's in jail, his mother's killed. And there's this mentor mentee thing that Barry needs. And then for the first time, we never got the Robin in the Keaton bats verse. And Keaton gets to do the older mentor thing for the first time. And I just think overall it was pulled off incredibly well. And I'll be sad if this is his last go or the last time we get to see him in the suit, but at no point did I think it was bad. And I was absolutely smitten with the entirety of Keaton's return as Batman in this film.
Yeah, I think if they, in the movies, I don't think I minded both of those lines from the first Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would have been happier if they left out the "Let's get nuts" line out of the trailer.
Sure.
Because if you're not expecting it, you'd get a kick. But when you're waiting for both of them, it's kind of, because when Dumb Barry or Young Barry, I guess, finds the bag, the laughing bag, I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. Like I got super excited that he found the Joker back. I was like, that's great. So I feel like if they just kept the nuts line, if they kept that out of the trailer, I would probably
you didn't need it in the trailer.
I would have gone crazy before without thinking about it. And it gave me like 2 months to think about why would they put that in there. But if it just hit me, I would have been like, oh, that's rad. The suit looked good.
Yeah.
He looked good.
He looked good in it. He didn't look old man. I was worried he looked too old man in it, but he looked grizzled and stuff, but he looked good.
Yeah.
He's 70.
Even when he was like fighting in the kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's stunt double stuff there, but
it didn't feel like out of place.
Yes.
You know, it didn't feel like, oh, it's a stunt double. It just felt like Batman. And I love when he throws the pot at young Barry.
Yes.
And they do the same thing as Batman did in Justice League. When old Barry saw him do that. Not the oldest Barry, the older Barry, middle Barry. Well, I guess young Barry becomes old Barry. I thought he was great. We really didn't get the Batmobile in action, which is fine. A lot of Batwing. And I gotta say, the Batwing's kind of rad.
Oh, the Batwing.
The way it spun like a B-Wing.
Yes.
Like the cockpit spun.
Yes. That was. And when he did when the little like grappling hook thing like came out of it and like shot two ships and like spun them together and crap, like that was so cool.
The action was fun.
Yeah,
it might not have looked the greatest, but it was fun.
But but to me, that was the only when it was the Speedverse thing that it looked bad to me. The action, the closing sequences, I thought were really compelling. Like, or even the old man, Keaton Bats just as Bruce Wayne fight scene was awesome because that was set to 25 or 64, right? Was that where 25 or 64 was?
Yeah.
And my kids loved it, that scene so much, or it hit so good. They were like, 25 or 64 is on rotation right now. They're like jamming to that song, and I've always loved that song. Big fan of blanking on the guitarist's name now, but their lead guitarist is one of the all-time underrated guitar players. But anyway, and then I think it was a White Stripes or a Jack White song during the closing fight thing. I thought that hit, that needle drop was really good. I don't know, the song choices I thought were really good. But yeah, the Batwing was awesome. I did lament that it didn't look like the 89 one, but just seeing in action, it was really freaking cool. You're right. The rotating cockpit thing was the freaking coolest.
So is that why Todd's cost so much? Does it have that feature?
No, it doesn't. It only sits one as well. Like somebody needs to make a legit one, because all we got for main retail is this Batwing from Spin Master, and it only sits one figure and it doesn't rotate.
Yeah. You have to do something about that.
This is a big, I mean, I'm glad I have it, I guess, but I'm still working on a review. I feel like I need to change my review now that I've seen these things in action. But yeah, Batwing was amazing. I freaking loved it. Loved every minute of that. It is a bummer the Batmobile wasn't really used. It was just there as we saw it in the trailer practically.
I almost forgot one of the return of one of my favorite characters. And you're probably not going to see this coming.
Okay.
The king of the Wicker people.
Yes.
The armor room.
Yes.
I never once thought I would see that room again. And I don't know if it's the same room, but it was all the same junk. So Batman's collection is still strong. It's still. But I love that.
This will look the same in 30 years. Or whatever.
This is so great. I was like, oh my gosh, King of the Wicker people. I love that Barry. He didn't have to say anything, but Barry just mentions, "Oh, my Bruce had an Alfred too."
Yes,
and just knowing, like obviously he would probably be dead by now, but just the look that Keaton gives about that, it tells you everything you need to know.
Yep.
tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, dude, like I'm a huge DC fan. You can probably tell by my Green Lantern statue. That thing's huge, by the way. I don't know if it's quarter scale.
It's big.
Yeah. But like, but just seeing, like, I knew Affleck was going to be in it. I knew Michael Keaton was going to be in it. Affleck in the blue suit, the blue and gray suit, awesome. I thought this was probably this made me like want more Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yep.
Like I thought like this sort of action-y, adventure-y Batman who's not just brooding.
Yes.
Like he's like there for Barry. He's giving him advice. Like he's like, you know, don't mess with it. It's what made us. And it's true. He's the one that Barry should have listened to from the start. Like he's like, you know, and even when Barry says, I can go back and save your parents too, just a quick little,
he's
no,
like,
you can't. It's you know it's there. But then just to see Wonder Woman show up for a small scene, it's like, I did not expect to see anybody other than who they showed us in the movie, and then who we speculated as far as like other versions of Batman, other versions of Superman or whatever. I didn't expect the other versions of Superman. I thought we were going to see more Batman. But it's just like, as soon as I see Wonder Woman on the big screen, I'm just like, I hate that Zimmer garbage music, but it gets me pumped up. Like I'm like, it's her.
Yeah.
It's like, it's such a great scene too when Batman's trying to get the lasso off and he's like just spouting off truths. Like it's such a fun scene. And
I'd be much better if I just gave my billions to end world hunger. You know?
As much as I like Justice League, I want to see this version of Justice League where they're having fun, cracking jokes. They're on adventures. It's not the fate of the universe. It's just they're on a bridge trying to get a briefcase. That's it. And it's so fun. It's so low stakes that they don't have to all be brooding.
Yes.
And it brought me so much joy right at the beginning. Just watching Flash like tie those cables together. And
he's just
the janitor. And it's like I'm missing all these adventures with these guys having a good time and Barry kind of just getting kicked to the side. And I'm like, I was so in. I was so in, and then right after that, they give you the gut punch of, you know, the mom's death and all of this stuff, and setting up the tomato can. It's just like I was suckered in. I'll tell you, Green Lantern the animated series. Love the show. Can't really stand the animation style. It looks super primitive. I know it's 2011, but it doesn't. It's not like Clone Wars level. It's really low kind of budget CG, early CG Saturday morning cartoon. But the characters are written so well and the story's so good that you just like forget it. Like some comic books are drawn better than other comic books. But when it comes down to it, if the story's good, you don't care. So when it comes to things like babies falling out of a skyscraper, every frame looked like a comic book panel. Maybe it wasn't drawn by the best artist, but maybe they didn't want to have really realistic babies falling out of a skyscraper. And I don't know, but it was one of those things where I'm like, I felt like I was in a comic book. And I got to see not only all the characters I love, but like all the iterations of characters. For the last 60 years.
Yeah, pretty much. And it was cool seeing the TV Superman
and that's how they started it too. That was great.
I love that just because they did reruns of those when I was a kid. Like, was it Nickelodeon that had them? There's a few channels that did the old reruns. And I used to love watching the black and white Superman show. Like that was my jam. And I remember, when we'd go, because I had family in LA and we'd go to see him, and my dad was like, oh, that's the building they use at the Daily Planet, and the TV show. I was like, oh, there it is. So that was really cool. Like I love that. And of course the Chris Reeves and the Adam West and
Alan Slater.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you see that giant spider. Now,
And then
did
I'm
you
like,
know?
oh yeah, I was like, oh shit.
Here it comes. Here it comes. Can
And
you pop in Dora real quick? Can you pop in Dora Laxon's comment?
which one? Which one?
The Green Lantern one at the bottom.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So just to be clear, I'm talking about Green Lantern the animated series, not the movie.
Yeah.
The movie I don't care for. It has problems, but Green Lantern the animated series, which is totally on Max, give it a shot. It's good stuff. But dude, Nicolas Cage.
I was so pumped.
They showed him far away, and I'm
yes.
like, "No, that's Nicolas Cage."
Oh, I knew it was Nick Cage immediately.
And then they did the slow turn. I'm like, are they really going to show his face? It felt like Luke Skywalker at the end of Mandalorian season 2 or whatever, season 1.
Sure.
Where I'm like, are they going to show his face? Are we going to see it? It was like the perfect reveal, and they flat out just showed him.
Yes.
I'm in the theater. We went on Sunday morning, and I'm like in a theater full of like really like people who are like, 30 years older than me, like in their 70s and 60s.
Okay. So you were with the,
and I was like, I can't even imagine any of these people have any idea why there's a shot of Nicolas Cage in this movie.
I loved it so much. Once I saw the mullet, I knew it was
long
Cage.
Hair.
Yep.
They gave him the long hair. They did it just like the test.
Yep.
Costume fittings and stuff, and I was just like, this is for fans. Like that's fan service. 100%.
That's fan service.
But it doesn't matter. But as a fan, I am happy I was serviced.
Well, because to me, I remember just reading or hearing about that film when it was like being discussed. Like I remember hearing on morning radio, "Oh, Nick Cage is going to be the new Superman," and just like.
I was,
and in my head,
looking forward to it.
Yeah, getting excited for another Superman because Superman was my first love in terms of superheroes, and I was so excited we're getting another Superman movie, on the screen, and I heard it was Tim Burton, and I heard there was rumors Keaton was going to come back as Keaton Bats in it for like a scene or something. Like there was just all this stuff about the Tim Burton Superman that I was super excited about as someone that didn't love the Schumacher thing, and it was less. I like it more in retrospect now. I just think it was more like I was too much of a hipster, a young hipster. I was like, oh, but it's not Keaton. It's not, It was
a total shift in tone.
Shift in tone. I was like, this isn't what I love. But now in retrospect, I'm like, oh, it's different and it's fine, But I was just so excited, like Burton's doing super. I don't know. I was just seeing, and then hearing the Kevin Smith like do the synopsis and kind of tell the script and the spider like seeing it all there. I was just like over the moon excited. And I feel like I may have been the only one in the theater that. And Colleen and I have an inside joke about Nicolas Cage. We both love him and just how corny and stupid he is. So we were both excited to see him. And then my dad, who has really no idea about the whole Nick Cage thing, was like, was that a thing? I was like, oh, it was a thing. There's pictures and everything,
I highly recommend you check out. There's a movie called The Death of Superman Lives. I've heard about that. Yeah. Check it out. I might watch it again. It's got everything you need to know about that movie.
Mm-hmm. Where is it streaming anywhere?
Kevin Smith's in it. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but if you can find it, look it up.
Okay.
It's got to be around somewhere. It's
okay.
got to be around. But Adam West, Helen Slater. I don't know who was playing Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Flash.
Yeah, that was cool.
But just seeing the Golden Age Flash,
yes,
I was like, this is amazing. Like,
it's so cool.
Just open it up. Let's get a JSA. Let's get different directors doing their own take, like what Matt Reeves is doing with the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get someone with a completely different vision to do a Justice Society, like Golden Age superheroes.
Yeah,
let's go nuts. Let's get nuts. I feel like James Gunn, Peter Safran have to like have a lot of pieces to pick up.
Sure.
And I think this helps a little bit because it's like, hey, listen, everything matters. Nothing, when you the same way No Way Home said like, hey, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield still matter in this universe.
Exactly.
When you have the Spider-Verse saying like literally like animation and live action
is all that absolutely.
Like I would have loved to have seen Barry run into Universe 66 and just hang out, like do punch some boffs and biffs alongside Adam West. But it was just like one of those things where I'm like, listen, this opens up everything. And it doesn't, not everything needs to tie in. Let's start mixing, matching some things.
Sure.
Let's get Keaton Bats in a Batgirl movie.
Okay, can we just talk about that just for a second? Just a quick timeout on that. So I saw more pictures surface from the Batgirl movie.
Yeah.
And after seeing how well the Keaton Bat, like Michael Keaton back in the role, it feel like it didn't miss a step. Right. I'm just like, I want to see the Batgirl movie. And the fact that some of those images had the Batmobile, I'm like, if we get Batmobile action, like just release it, god dang it. And I don't want to be a release the Snyder Cut person, but I'm just like, release the Batgirl movie because I want to see it so bad.
And that's my whole thing. When everyone was saying release the Snyder Cut, I was like, yeah, the cause was great. They were doing stuff for charity, and like it was a cause to raise money for charity. And like me, I just wanted to see more Justice League. Like I just wanted to see more, maybe a Green Lantern, maybe, more Cyborg, more all of these things. And that's all I want is more DC.
Agreed.
And even though I don't think it looks super terrific, I'm going to go see Blue Beetle.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. It looks fun.
Yeah.
Mike Giorlico, great call. I want a Supergirl movie after this. Can we talk about
her?
Sasha? Is it Callie or Kale or
Kaye? Maybe
Kaye? Is it Aya? But even though it wasn't a lot, she didn't have a lot of screen time or things to say, but in the moments she had, knockout performance. I loved every second of it. And the fact that like she kept dying. So like so Kaye? Kaye?
Kaye.
But she was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I'm hoping they go. They're working on a Supergirl movie, right?
I hope with her because I don't know. She stole so many of her scenes.
Make it happen.
Yeah. And just like, again, she only had like maybe 10 minutes in the film, but the fact, what I would give her performance is like in those moments where like he says he killed the baby and she's like, you care about it, like to be able to have that much presence that quickly to where you feel the emotion of the performances, to me, and it's like you said earlier, like there's just so many moments where you don't have to do all that much, and if you still get it, like that to me shows how it's a good performance.
Yeah, I don't know what the runtime was on this movie, but it didn't really lag for me at all.
No, it was like 2.5 hours, but it didn't stop. Like it was nonstop. Yeah, I think it was 2 hours 23, maybe 2:23. But Reynolds says legally can't release it now. Shelved tax write-off. So Keaton was only maybe 10 minutes for screening reports. Well, then just bring him back to do something, because he still got it. He still got it.
Right.
But to me, I thought her performances were good too. What's that, Ralph?
Make Batman 3.
Do it.
Clooney and Val Kilmer can live in their own separate Schumacher verse.
Yeah. It's like a slight deviation or whatever. Yeah. But people that there's a lot of griping about the CGI in the chat. I think it's just mainly Kayla. But to me, Marvel's CGI sucks. Like it's trash most of the time. And
here's the thing.
And to me, like, sure, if we want to gripe about the bad CGI in this movie, but nobody complains about the bad CGI in Marvel, and a lot of times just like CGI vomit on the screen most of the time.
I enjoyed Quantumania,
Mm-hmm.
but the story wasn't strong enough for me to like my eyes start wandering at the CG.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of my main gripes with Quantumania. It looks so ugly. This movie, the CG wasn't great, but it wasn't ugly. It was just stylized weird.
Yeah.
The bowl definitely had almost like a cell shading quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
It was really hard to put my finger on.
Yeah.
And then the babies. But other than that, I was fine with everything.
And everyone loved the dog, and the dog was super CGI, and
the dog flat out looked like crazy, like cartoon Spuds McKenzie. What was that show, Family Dog, like with the tongue out and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Like the tongue was like exaggerated and long, and the eyes were popping out. It looked like when Milo gets the mask in The Mask.
Yes.
And then, but I was like, the reveal of the dog was so funny too, because you're like, okay, he's starting to get everything under control. He's got everything set up.
Yes.
But he's got to eat that burrito.
Yes.
He eats the burrito. And he's trying to grab as much food as he can. He has enough. You're like, okay, he has enough time to clearly eat the burrito that the babies, they're going to be fine. Even the Flash knows the babies are going to, he has time to grab a bite to eat.
Yes. Well, he needs to, right? He's out of calorie energy. Yeah.
But then he sees the dog, and then it's like, that's funny.
Yes. The whole sequence I thought was, I was laughing. It was so good. This thing, the Barry's face so bad when there's two of them. Sure, but I don't. Again, like it didn't distract the movie for me. And honestly, no, Weta didn't kill for Lord of the Rings. Like you look in retrospect, it doesn't look that great, but it's a great movie and great performances, and you don't care about it as much.
Yeah, that's the thing. You need to, if you're focused on the story, which I was, because I'm a massive DC fan, you just kind of let things go. Yeah. Like I've read comic books where I'm just like, man, this art sucks. but if I'm just staring at the art, it means that the story's not good.
Yeah. But for me,
for me hit.
It did. It really did. Can we talk about the ending scene where Barry puts the cans up on the top so that way his dad can be free? But because of that, George Clooney is now the Bruce Wayne. I gotta say, I wish it was Keaton, because I felt like there had been a more emotional connection to him seeing Keaton bats there, right? It would have been a nice little, almost Wizard of Oz, just like, oh, it's the guy I built this mentor-mentee relationship with, and it's back, but does he remember that at all, or something like that? And this one felt more like, oh, okay, yeah, there's another Batman.
Well, here's the thing. The way there's two reasons I like it. The first is it shows that Barry didn't fix everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So it's a great like Planet of the Apes ending where it's like, oh no, everything's not right. There's still stuff going on.
Sure.
Second, I assumed by this point in the movie, we're wrapping things up. We're done with the cameos.
Yeah.
And when he came out, completely blindsided.
I knew it was going to be something different because the voice was different on the phone. I was like, it sounded older. I was like, oh, it's going to be Keaton bats. Oh, it's going to be Keaton as Bruce Wayne. I didn't expect George Clooney, not for a second.
But then also, like, Batman and Robin is bad.
It is. Categorically.
Every 5 years or so, I'm like, it can't be that bad. I like Arnold. Let me put it on. It's bad.
It is.
It's bad. And I feel bad for Clooney, who was sort of early in his movie career.
Sure.
And I just like, he would make a great Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And it was squandered.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, great. He's owning it. He's not bad mouthing his time as Batman.
Yep.
Like, he could easily just be like, oh no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But he's like, listen, this sounds fun. I'm going to own it.
Yep.
And then I don't know last time I saw George Clooney in a movie, but it was just great seeing him. And I was like, that's kind of great. And then Barry's tooth fell out, and I'm like, that's funny.
Yes,
and then,
that was great. It was the other tooth, though. Did you notice that? At least I think it was the one that didn't fall out the first time. I thought it was his other tooth that fell out.
Really? I didn't notice.
I thought maybe I was just like, again, I've only seen it once, But I was like, I think that's a different tooth. That's the first read I got of it. But
I mean, I loved it. I loved it.
So did I.
Listen. Sure, Keaton might have been more emotional, but listen,
yeah,
the scene with the mom in the grocery store,
amazing,
like that.
That was incredible.
I had nothing left to give this.
Sure,
movie.
You're right.
I was dehydrated. I was crying so much.
Yeah.
But I was just like, it was nice to just kind of go off on leave on a little bit of an uptick.
Yeah.
And so that made me I was happy for that. Confused by the Aquaman scene at the end.
So
and I
weird.
think it was literally just a way to say the next Aquaman movie is the same Aquaman guy from.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it was the scene was so weird.
Yes.
Where they were drunk and then he's like falling into the giant puddle, which was kind of funny. But it was like, what? But I think the whole point was like, hey, everyone, Aquaman's the same.
Still the same.
We'll see Aquaman in December, even though I heard it's awful.
Is it awful?
I keep hearing it's awful, but
oh man,
I mean, I like
the first Aquaman was great.
It was so crazy.
It was
That's
fun.
what I like too. I like DC, and DC's sort of known as like the dark and gritty comic book stuff. So when they do stuff like Aquaman, where it's like a fun adventure and they're telling jokes and smiling and having a good time, I get happy.
Well, that's the thing is like DC's not just dark and brooding. Like they brought, they're kind of famous for that in the 80s of like Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns, right? Like that is them too. But there's so much like zany crap in DC, and that's why I feel like James Gunn, he gets that, right? That's why I think what's been his version of Suicide Squad and Peacemaker and what I think he's gonna bring as like the new head of like the whole DCU. I'm excited for that because he gets that too. It's not just the dark and brooding. Which is cool. Honey, yay, made alive. Welcome. Glad to have you here.
5 minutes.
Gotham Soccer Clooney was a decent Bruce Wayne, but Batman Robin was the worst. What's one of those things where I feel like Batman Forever is not as bad. I feel like it gets a bad rap because of Batman Robin. I actually
shouldn't have had Two-Face
Forever still. What's that?
Two-Face shouldn't have been kind of Batman.
Yeah. He's thrown it.
It should have just been Riddler.
Agreed. He doesn't have much to do there. He's just there. But I think it just kind of became this thing where Returns had two bad guys, kind of.
Yeah.
So this one has to have two bad guys, but it didn't need to at all. Yeah. Randall asked, was Keaton and Supergirl's death canon, or were they erased by the dusting of younger Barry? I think my idea is that the superheroes we saw in the cameos can change, and the ones we didn't can stay. I
think we could see the different versions.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about this movie is Keaton could be in a different reality. Like who's to say that this is Earth 89?
It's not, because to me, the fact that he goes back and Mother doesn't die, it kind of erases that one anyway, and another version of that can happen or something. We don't know.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it, man.
Ooh, Two-Face should have been Return instead of Shock. I think that was what was kind of cool about the Lego Batman movie is we got Billy D. Williams as Two-Face, which was fun because we never got that, because he was Harvey Dent in Batman 89. And so he finally got to do his Two-Face, which was cool.
I think in the Batman 89 comic that came out a couple years ago, they did do Two-Face with Billy D's likeness.
Yes. Which is cool. Recently,
also, we missed out on what a Tim Burton Two-Face would look like.
I know. Oh, it would have been so gruesome.
That design would have been nuts.
Yeah. But I feel like with Tim Burton's kind of revisiting his old stuff, right? With Beetlejuice 2, Keaton's coming back for that. Like, you're telling me that James Gunn would be like, all right, Tim, do you want to just take one more stroll down this lane? Like, you're telling me he wouldn't say yes. He's doing Beetlejuice too.
Yeah, they're talking.
Right? They're
talking right now. Like, the movie came out. They're talking right now about Batman.
And Keaton would be game because he nailed this performance. It wasn't hollow or just for show. Like, it was, he legit was in the role again. And he got to do the old man Obi-Wan in a much more satisfying way.
Yeah.
He got to be still himself, but an old man.
let's get Marlon Wayans as Nightwing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in the comics to illustrate how he would look like, black and white suit. Like, yeah, but like that's not Tim Burton directing. Like, you would think if Tim Burton did it, it would look a little bit more crazy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he did nail it. But anyway, Ralph, any other thoughts here as we wrap things up?
Loved it. I don't know what else
Same.
to say. Don't know what else to say. It's my favorite DC movie in a while.
Same. Probably my favorite since Aquaman. I really dug Aquaman. I like this better than
Shazam
Aquaman.
2.
I didn't see Shazam 2.
Check it out. It's fun.
I love Shazam 1.
Yeah, check out Shazam 2.
To me, at no point did I groan and say, well, this is, yeah. I loved every second of this movie. Mm-hmm. Versus there was so much of Aquaman. I'm like, do I care? Or I don't know. It's been a minute. I need to see it again. Yeah. But everybody, as we wrap up here, please head over to Gotham City tonight with Ryan Dole. They're going to continue this conversation start their own conversation about The Flash. Ralph, you got anything coming up right now in your verse of content?
No, I'll be seeing you at San Diego Comic-Con, but I'm sure we'll be talking about that. Maybe our next episode will be...
Next is Indiana Jones. We got Indiana Jones coming up.
Yeah, in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so we'll be back soon. But everybody, take care. And until next time, hasta luego. And goodbye. Have a great night, everybody.